We've all gotten tied in knots over the legitimacy of our recent elections. This isn't anything new in American history, and it certainly isn't limited to one side or the other of the political spectrum.
If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us.
President Trump won this election, so everyone who's listening, do not be quiet.
Votes remain to be counted. There are voices that were waiting to be heard.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
This is all understandable, given the tyrannical power our political system wields over our lives today. And outright cheating can't be allowed. The stakes are high, and despite what some people claim, there's been plenty of election interference in American history. Even the New York Times, back in the 90s before everything went completely crazy, admitted that Lyndon B. Johnson stole his Senate seat. Machine politics and ballot stuffing, especially at the local level, goes all the way back to the beginning. Google Boss Tweed or Tammany Hall or the New York problem for more. Or just watch Gangs of New York, though not with your kids, it's rated R.
I already voted today. Cast for Monk and Tammany, by God. Twice.
Twice? Only twice? You call that doing your civic duty?
But while people have been obsessing over outright fraud or technical issues like mail-in ballots versus in-person paper versus electronic voting machines, almost everyone has been ignoring something far deeper and far crazier about the democratic electoral process. It's a set of secret formulas discovered by economists who devoted their careers to studying how people make decisions in groups. These are the public choice theorists, and what they've discovered is as shocking as it is counterintuitive. The implications of what I'm going to try my best to explain here are truly profound. Welcome to Kenneth Arrow's Impossibility Theorem, also known as Arrow's Paradox. Arrow starts with a simple goal, that our voting system should meet a few key criteria in order to be truly fair and representative of majority opinion. The first criteria, unanimous consent. If everyone prefers option A over option D, then option A should beat option D every time. Seems fair, right? The second criteria, irrelevant choices don't change the outcome. If everyone's top pick is option A, and their last choice is option D, then the order of the irrelevant options B and C in the middle should have no impact on the outcome. Again, seems fair, doesn't it? And this should be pretty easy to deal with, right? I mean, why would the order of irrelevant options to your main choice ever matter? Add as many candidates as you want. I like this guy. Now, here comes the shocking surprise. There is only one form of decision-making when there's more than two choices that satisfy these simple conditions. Are you ready for it? It's dictatorship. Seriously, a single decider. No democratic electoral process can satisfy these two simple benchmarks for fairness. Only one person making the choice can do it. Does this mean that Churchill was wrong about democracy and Plato was right that a philosopher king or benevolent overlord is the ideal form of government? No way. All of history points to the fact that Lord Acton's warning is justified. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Waiting for a platonic ideal dictator will leave you waiting forever. And this completes the paradox when we add the final criteria. No dictators allowed. It is mathematically impossible for any system to deliver on all three. No democratic system can deliver more than one, and we don't want a dictator. If you want to go deeper into exactly how these conclusions work, we'll put some links to a few great videos that walk you through proofs of Arrow's paradox down below. So, where does this leave us exactly? And what are the implications of this paradox? Arrow's paradox has a very important lesson. The rules of the voting system determine the outcome of the system.
There are certain rules.
And those rules vary state by state. So for any given set of choices, without any change in the voters' opinions, if you change the rules of the voting system, you can change the outcome. For example, the caucus rules in Iowa will produce different results for the same voters than a first-past-the-post system like most states have, or a ranked choice voting system used in some states, versus, say, a 2-round system where a runoff is required if no candidate gets over 50%. And again, none of those systems satisfy these basic criteria of fairness. Arrow himself downplayed his conclusions, saying most systems are not going to work badly all of the time. All I proved is that all can work badly at times. This is a massive understatement, and one that I have to imagine was born out of the deeply uncomfortable nature of his own discovery. There is no such thing as a purely democratic will of the people. It's mathematically impossible. It's a kind of rhetorical flourish, a poetry, a fairy tale, a secular religion. Arrow's paradox is not the only way to arrive at this conclusion, but it's perhaps the only one that doesn't try to make a philosophical or values-based argument to do so. The math doesn't lie.
How do you like their maps?
We've seen Arrow's paradox play out clearly in open primary seasons where there's more than 2 choices, such as 2016. The rules of each party's primary determined who won. The sequencing mattered to the outcome. This means that we could change the rules in our primaries and get totally different winners without a single person changing their opinion of any of the candidates. For example, Donald Trump didn't win more than 50% in the GOP primary until 30 states had their primaries and the field began to narrow. What that means is that the GOP nominee did not have a majority of Republican support in a majority of states. But this is not unique to Trump. It's just the nature of the beast. Just ask Bernie.
The establishment determined who the anointed candidate will be.
The paradox also leads to other outcomes we've observed, such as driving people to focus more on who can beat their party's opponent versus which candidate best represents their values. This results in what's called favorite betrayal and other sort of fake strategies to try to outsmart the system.
I'm smart!
But it also produces polarization. I call these fake strategies because the other deeply uncomfortable mathematical fact is that no one individual vote actually matters in any system unless it's the tiebreaker. If I stay home in November, I know for a stone cold mathematical fact that the election results will not be impacted. Okay, take a deep breath. I know that none of this is what you want to hear. And I can imagine the pushback. Maybe you hate me for spreading malinformation, also known as bad but true facts, about our democracy. Maybe you hate me for saying things that could discourage participation and hurt your preferred candidate. How dare I reduce the incentive to vote? What kind of dad who claims he wants to save America would do such a thing? All right, now that some of you feel heard, let me be clear. I am not saying don't vote and don't encourage your kids to vote. And I'm definitely not being un-American by showing ample skepticism about majority rule. I would say, in fact, that I'm being patriotic. Remember what my grandpa told me. We're a nation of laws, not mob rule. America is not a democracy. When Ben Franklin was asked, "Well, doctor, what have we got?" As he left the Constitutional Convention, Franklin responded, "A republic, if you can keep it." If you like this clip, we've got more where that came from. Be sure to watch the full video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our new videos as they come out each week.